So any questions, please?
I'm from last evening.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I saw. Yes, I mistook him for you, in fact. It was you who had reserved the first question last night.
Yes.
And you told me you had two questions, perhaps.
I will combine it to one, sir.
Huh?
I will combine it to one, sir. It is, my question will come in the end. In spite of the beautiful teachings of Islam, and especially compared to the Hindu religion that we have, more concerned with that because I belong to that country. Well, the belief in the transmigration of soul, which presents God that He is not all Rahim, even in the case of prophets, He retains some of their deeds, and even the prophets later on will be born into some better species, because God hasn't got no authority to totally forgive. Then with their economic theories that is propounded by Kautilya, and the statecraft by Chanakya, which allows all sorts of atrocities. And even then, and the mythology is so filthy that Beverly Nichols in his verdict on India said that it was all mumbo jumbo. But I find that even as compared to the Judaic religion, where the stoning to death is not Islamic punishment for anything, but it is a Judaic punishment. But in spite of all these, why it is, that's my question, sir, why it is that Islam is criticized and becomes, unfortunately, the butt ends of criticism by almost all followers of all religions. And no one takes notice of what Manu has written, all those inhuman teachings, which they consider the part of religion, and some of them feel proud of it. We find that if the teaching of Islam are first class, those who deviate from Islamic teaching, they become bad. But in the case of other religions, when they deviate from the teachings of their religion, they become better persons. But why Islam is the button?
The fact is that already you know the answer in a different context. But if you are reminded that the situations are exactly the same, then you will immediately know what the answer be. The fact is that Ahmadiyyat is singled out for all the atrocities among the Muslim sects, while the fact is that there are many other sects, most of the sects in fact, have fundamental differences in each other, much more than Ahmadis have. So fundamental and so heinous occasions that it is indeed a punishment to realize that within Islam such sects exist with views on the fundamental Islam more like any other religion than Islam itself. For instance, I quoted some points from Arakhani view of Islam. And I told you a few days ago that their belief is so fundamentally different from the rest of the Muslims that apparently if a sect was to be intolerated, that was a sect. But apart from that, there are Alvites, some types of Shias who claim that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Na'udzubillah min zalik not only inferior to Hazrat Ali, but Hazrat Ali was God himself. So that also has been mentioned in a way in our Hani Kalema. But they have many stories attached to this view. These Alawites, they claim that, these stories are in circulation in Pakistan. I'm not quoting Sunni enemies of Shias, but I'm quoting those majalis where these stories are read by the Shiites themselves, but they have borrowed them from these extremist Alawites. So some Ahmadis who attended these majalis and who I know are most trustworthy, they have related these things to me. For instance, it is said that during Miraj, the ascent of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he reached finally the place where none other was present except God and Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even the Jibreel who brought Wahi was left far behind. He said, my wings would burn if I go beyond that certain limitation. So at that place, ultimately he met God as if two physical beings meet each other. As if two material beings meet each other. So Allah extended his hand to him to shake hands with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there he immediately noticed that the ring he was wearing was that of Hazrat Ali. So he said, oh God, what I am seeing? This is the ring of Ali. So Allah told him that he was meeting Ali. So he said, according to this story, that if you were God, why didn't you tell me there? Why did I have to travel all the way to the seventh heaven and across to meet you? Now these are the stories which have been told in Shia majalis even in Pakistan. Whether most of the sects believe in them or not, but to excite people, their own followers, they tell these stories and they are accepted in, with applause, and people start shouting in praise of Hazrat Ali, Nara Ali, and nobody minds, nobody realizes what they are being told. So such differences and many more exist. For instance, the Barelvis believe that all the Ahl Hadith are 100% kuffar, and no Muslim can say prayer behind them. And it's a recent publication in Pakistan which I am referring to now. I've got a copy with me, in which they have told in uncertain terms that the question of their being Muslim is absolutely out of question. No sane Barelvi can ever believe that any Ahl Hadith could be considered as a Muslim. Yet they tolerate each other and they live in one community as Muslims, and they have singled Ahmadis out to be chucked out of Islam for the reason that we believe that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had prophesied that Mahdi and Masih would come, and we believe he is come. And we believe that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was last of the prophets, that is to say, last of the lawbringer, last prophet with a book, last prophet with a Sharia, and his subordinates can come, not independent prophets. And that too because he himself has prophesied that a subordinate would come, and he names him Mahdi and Masih, and calls Masih prophet himself quite a few times. So this is our time. So any sane man can judge that the differences they hold between themselves are far greater and far more heinous to their sensibilities than the differences which we hold. Yet we have been singled out. Why? The answer to this question is exactly applicable to that answer. Why Islam has been singled out? It's a matter of relativity. The fact is that we have been singled out because all these sects believe that we are a life force.